And welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Mheshimiwa Oluwande Evelyn. Commissioner, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Jacqueline Ingutia, Commissioner, welcome.
My name is Justice Ibrahim Mohammed, Supreme Court Judge, a Commissioner. Karibu.
Asante.
Fatuma Sichale, Commissioner and Judge of the Court of Appeal, most welcome.
Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Charity Kisoto, a Commissioner, welcome.
Thank you.
Isaac Ruto is my name, a member of the Commission, representing the public. Welcome.
Thank you.
Good morning, Honorable Ithuku. Zilani Caroline is my name. Karibu sana.
Asante.
Good morning, Bajanja David, Judge of the High Court and Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioners, for that introduction. We will go straight into the interview and the Commissioners will ask you some questions. You will begin by confirming to us your county.
Your Lordship, I come from Kitui County.
And your ethnicity?
Kamba.
Thank you. The first set of questions will be asked by Honorable Justice Ishale.
Thank you, Honorable Chief Justice. Honorable Ithuku, when were you admitted as an advocate?
I was admitted in 2000, the year 2000.
The year 2000.
Yes.
And ever since your admission in the year 2000, what is it that you've been doing that you think makes you the ideal candidate for this position of a judge of the High Court? Remember, you have many other worthy competitors, so we would like to know what you've done in your professional life that makes you stand out to be a judge.
Thank you, Your Lordship and Commissioners. On admission in 2000, Your Lordship, I worked as an associate for about 4 years in the firm of B.M. Mongata and Company Advocates, where I handled mostly civil matters. And after those 4 years, that is in 2004, I joined the Judiciary as resident magistrate. My posting was in Kiruguya. Since then, I've been in the Judiciary for now about 20 years, rising from resident magistrate to chief magistrate. Currently, as we speak, I'm head of station, Mombasa Law Court. And I've had the privilege of heading all the 8 stations I've worked. That is starting from Kiruguya, Maralal, all through to now Mombasa Law Court. Your Lordship, I also served, that is from 2015, the Commission nominated me and I was appointed as chairman of the Cooperative Tribunal, where I served for 1 term. And one of the outstanding things about the tribunal is that, of course, as chairman, I was working with a 6-member panel, and what is different from what we do in our ordinary day-to-day court is that, of course, it's a team, we make decisions together, but more than that, the cooperative movement runs differently. That is, the cases that go there are more matters that, you know, bend towards alternative dispute resolution. So we had most of those matters, many of them decided through either parties talking or alternative dispute resolutions, and we were able to have them resolved. I would also want to say that when I joined the tribunal, it did not start for about 6 months. So we not only revived it, but we were able to successfully transition it, because that was the time when tribunals were transiting to judiciary. And by the time we were leaving in 2018, the tribunal was running, it had the structures. We had even managed to do a service week where many matters that were pending were decided.
All right, I'm sure we'll get to hear more about what you've done in greater detail as we continue to have this engagement with you. But if you'd like to have some water, please feel free, and there's a bottle of water there.
Thank you.
From what you're telling us, and no doubt, you really are a person with a wealth of experience, more so when it comes to your work, where you say that you've been a magistrate, a chief magistrate, and headed many of the stations where you've been posted. I would like you to tell us, of course, by virtue of that position, you've been able to observe what the judges do, what you think is right, and what they do, what you think is not right. We can begin with what you think is right, what judges do, that you'd like to emulate.
Thank you. One of the things I would want to say, because I've been there for a while, is that of course we've had transformation from where we started when there was more of a top-down administration of justice to where we are, where it's mostly people-centered. So what I would say I like that happens now is that we now involve, judges now involve people more. And by people is the litigants, whether it's advocates or people are in person. So that people get to know what the judge is doing in terms of when matters are coming for hearing. If there's a judge who is not sitting for whatever time, proper notices are given. When matters are coming for judgment, everyone gets to know, notices are given. And of course, with the system we've adopted now, there's more accountability. And I like that, where we get everyone accountable, and that is something I would emulate when I get there.
So that is in terms of the operations. What about the personal attribute or attributes of a judge? I'll give you time to drink, to have a sip of water.
Thank you. Thank you. In terms of personal attributes, the ones I admire are the discipline. This role of a judge is one that comes with the restrictions. It's one where one has to decide that this is what I want to do, and therefore you live your life within certain parameters. So there are those judges who I would say I see them carrying themselves with propriety. Everyone will emulate them, will see what they are doing and say, this is what a judge will look like. So that's something I would want to emulate, that even in their personal life, you can say that this is what a judge would want to be.
What would you like? What would you not like to emulate?
Your leadership, the opposite of that. That we get into judgeship, and then we can have situations where the life out there, that is the life of the individual, will conflict with what is expected, what people want to see in courts, or what people want to expect is not what they are seeing of the person, maybe in terms of associations, or maybe even comments people make out there, and things like that.
Thank you, Honorable Chief Justice. That's all from me.
Okay, Honorable Ithuku, just a few questions.
Yes.
Now, I noticed that you're in private practice for 4 years.
Yes.
Subsequent to which you transitioned to the judiciary. Now, could you explain to this Honorable Commission what informed that decision of moving from private practice to the judiciary?
Thank you, Commissioner. After serving for, that is practicing for 4 years, one of the things I can say, your Lordship and Commissioners, is the judiciary in 2004 was very different from the judiciary today. And there was quite some frustration in the way things were working, especially when you are an associate and running around and trying to get your things done. And there were things I was seeing, because I could see that the work that magistrates were doing. There were things I truly felt that if I get in here, I can do some of these things and do them better. And that's one of the reasons I joined. I can also report that the team that joined with us was immediately after the purge, that is when many magistrates left in 2003. And that's when the advertisements were made. And I felt that, because that was a time, in 2003, there was there was a serious reawakening in this country, that people wanted things to be done differently, whether in public service or in private practice. And I felt that I needed to be one of those people who are joining public service and doing things differently.
Now, having joined the judiciary, and I see you've worked now there for quite a number of years, how would you describe your experience and the impact that you think you've made, in the sense that if somebody was to look back and say that in one paragraph, this way would capture the journey of Honorable Ithuku?
I would like to be remembered as someone who had impact in terms of the way service was delivered. Because I think even now, if one looks at my records, where I've worked, in all those stations where I've headed, in many of them, I would come in where there sometimes things were not working. There was people, the advocates or stakeholders were not reading from the same page with the judiciary. And by the time I'm leaving, in most of those stations, things changed. So if from 2004 to when I would leave this institution, one would have to write one sentence. They'll say, this man came and changed things.
Now, as I end, you're now seeking to be a judge.
Yes.
Now, how would you describe the difference between being a judicial officer and a judge, in the sense that if you become a judge, this is how you see your journey moving forward? And in answering that question, would you specifically tell us where would you want to make the greatest impact in terms of, again, being remembered the way you've described as a judicial officer, your journey, but now transitioning to a judge? Where is it that the impact you'd want to make, that the legal profession would feel that indeed Honorable Ithuku, now that is a judge, is on the right path?
Thank you. Judge, I was lucky to have served for 2 years as Deputy Registrar in charge of Criminal Division, where I was now the link between judges and courts. One of the challenges we have to date is delay in terms of appeals. And most of the time when we sit, whether it's LMT, CUC, or Barbench, the question that comes out, or what is usually pointed out, is non-typing or transmission of those files to the High Court. I believe as High Court, as judges, we can be more proactive, that we don't just wait for these files to come to us. There's more we can do. And I think that can be achieved when we have a clear and regular link with the heads of station, not just use the DR to communicate with letters, but make it, more interactive, because these files are being held there. I was in Kirugoya the other time, head of station. We had a DR, and we have the High Court. We sat down as LMT, chaired by our judge, and we agreed, let's not even do these many letters or reminders for files. Can you give me the list as head of station? And I do a bring up on when to want these files in your docket. It worked for us. And I think as judge, because judges have more authority even when they speak to the stations where they supervise, I think that's something I can do, and there'll be results.
Okay, my final question. What do you think in your estimation, is the biggest challenge that the judiciary is facing today? The biggest challenge, of course there are many, but is that one particular challenge that you think, even in terms of driving the confidence levels among the public, this is the challenge that we need to focus on? And in answering that question, would you state the different tactics that you would apply for you now as a judge, if you know, once you become one, if you do become one, in at least ameliorating that, you know, that challenge?
Thank you. There are many challenges, but one that comes to my mind from my experience as head of station and also working with the High Court is to the movement of cases from filing to finalization. That although we've worked quite a lot to address backlog and certainty of hearing dates and, you know, trying to work around adjournments, it's still a challenge. Matters are still not moving as fast as they should. We still have cases of delay. And I think, as judge again, that is an issue that will be central to me, because confidence in our work gets lowered every time, you know, people say, when you file a matter, it's like you're just parking the dispute there. It will never be resolved. And people start feeling like court are not executing their mandate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just taking that question further, the judiciary, as you have seen, has transformed from when you joined to now.
Yes.
Part of it being the independence of the judiciary, which is secured under the Constitution in very, very clear terms in black and white. But why are we still challenged about the independence of the judiciary, despite that provision in the Constitution? Why is judiciary still seen as not being independent, and how can you
thank you, Your Lordship. I think at an institutional level, we still have challenges. That we say judiciary is independent and should act independently in a manner that is seen by litigants who come to us. Why that has not been achieved, I would think there are several factors. One of them, I think, to date, is that the staffing, the personnel level is still not optimal. The facilitation of judiciary at the budget level is still not optimal. So that there are many things that judiciary would want to do that are still not possible because of the financing.
The budgetary allocation is one.
Yes.
Two.
It still looks like, even now, as judiciary and judicial officers, judges, even as we make decisions, because decisions keep coming from superior courts mostly, you still hear complaints. So that, although we have written it in black and white in our constitution that judiciary shall be independent, it begins to look like it's not something we all accepted as Kenyans. There is an extent, there is an independence that everyone will not swallow. There are still either individuals or institutions or agencies that would want to do what judiciary is doing. So I think there is still that there are no clear-cut boundaries as to where independence reaches, or where other agencies or persons can interfere.
Lack of awareness.
Yes.
Respect of the Constitution by the others.
Yes.
I can do with that. I will take you to still the Constitution on the enforcement of the Bill of Rights. Just let the commissioners know what kind of orders you can give under Article 22 to enforce the Bill of Rights.
Thank you. The High Court can give, can make declarations if of infringement or violation of the Constitution, can grant conservatory orders, orders of injunctions. They can give orders of judicial review. There is a list under Article 23 that it's not exhaustive. It says includes those ones. And recently there was a decision that the court can also give appropriate remedy that may not be listed there, including structural interdicts.
Okay. You can also issue judicial review.
Yes.
And an order of compensation. Right. You will be brought applications to declare a statute unconstitutional. What are the guiding principles when you have to declare a statute unconstitutional?
The first thing that the court takes note of is that there is presumption of constitutionality. Mm-hmm. And then having seen that, then you compare that statute, the statute that is being challenged, with the provision, the article of the Constitution that is said to flout, and see what it is that is said to be in contravention of the Constitution.
Okay, thank
yes.
you. You will also seek to understand what informed that particular statute.
Yes, the context and the history, what led to the enactment, which will lead you to know what they demand.
Thank you very much. Justice
Thank you.
Thank you. I just have one question to ask you. We enacted the Children's Act of 2022.
Yes.
You are aware of it?
Yes.
Just tell us what new development it made from the previous law.
The Children's Act tried in a big way to bring to bring the law in line with the Article 53 of the Constitution.
Any specific provisions?
Because that was in terms of the best interest of the child. It looked at adoptions and decided that the way we've been doing them may be harming these children more than benefiting them. So kinship adoption, was brought in.
That's number one.
It also looked at criminal capability, what we've been saying, taking our children through, the children who are in conflict with the law, and raised it from 8 to 12.
Okay. And lastly?
Lastly?
It expanded the right of the child.
Yes.
So thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Honorable Chair. Your Honor, Mr. Kimanzi, I have a few questions. In your CV, you said one of your achievements was to write sound judgment writing.
Yes.
Yes. In that context, what are the principles you apply when you're writing your rulings and judgment? in terms of the structure and analysis and finally your orders?
For judgment, my Lord Commissioner, because having had the parties, I, set out what the claim is set out in the pleadings. Then I capture the evidence as given by the parties. I also set out the law applicable to this case. And from that law and the facts as brought out by the parties, I am able to distill the issues for determination. It is those issues for determination, when I go through them in a logical manner, that I'm able now to determine the issues and give my determination.
I read your article on SACCOs, critical analysis of Kenya's legal framework for deposit-taking SACCOs. What made you write that article? And I must say it's a very well-written document. In fact, I thought you could make a very good teacher than a judge.
Thank you, Commissioner. This article, I wrote it because I wrote my LLM when I was chairman of the Cooperative Tribunal. And what we noticed was that the reason many Kenyans were coming to the tribunal was because, not because these were really real cases, but because of mismanagement. There is a lot of, lack of accountability.
Was that your paper for the...
Yes, what you've seen is an abridged version. I wrote this because it's an abridged version of my thesis.
Okay.
So I wrote the thesis. The thesis, of course, is longer, trying to address the problems that SACCOs have faced. I saw a lot of, the problem, the lack of information in the cooperative movement, where people just elect committee members and leave them to just run with their money wherever they want.
Thank you. I just wanted to comment that. Now, I want to deal with one specific judgment you wrote, or ruling, sample writing number 3. As you are aware, part of the writing skills that one has is not only the structure and the way you have just told me now, how you analyze and find virtue and gradually reach your decision, but it's also how you arrange your judgment.
Yes.
And that's part of the judgment writing skills. Why did you, in that case, go not to call the complainant first, which is the practice? The usual way is the complainant must testify first, lay out his case before you call witnesses. But you call the witness first before the complainant, the document examiner.
I'll say this, maybe I'll not remember the specific, but
you recall the case of criminal case number 485 of 2017?
Yes.
Case number 3 on your list?
In that case, I would think this is a situation that arises a lot for practical reasons in our court. Document examiners are very hard to get to court. So on a situation where you find, maybe this document examiner, we've been asking for him to come many occasions, and then it happens on the date when he's in court, for some reason the complainant has not come. So I would rather we hear him, release him, because what he is doing, just coming to say this is the handwriting of this person, is not something that is really tied to the complainant. The complainant can come and identify the other documents and give his story. But a document examiner, especially if you are in Kerugoya and places like that, it's not someone you want to release when you see him in court. So I would think that would be the reason.
In the same judgment, you referred to a decision and you quoted a passage by Justice Babea, and you quoted the case, Joseph Wanyonyi Wafuklo versus Republic, and you said that you find that passage apt and you relied on it, but
yes.
You never quoted. You're talking to the stakeholders, the parties. You didn't tell them what Justice Mabea said. How do you know? How will they know what Mabea said?
I think I've paraphrased somewhere where he was saying that the criminal process should not be used to pursue civil debts. I did not reproduce the passage, but I referred to it.
Okay. Finally, in the judgment, in your sample writing number 4, you are awarding costs. You're awarding costs, and it was discretion to give cost or to say each party bears the cost, but you use these words. The matter is basically between sister and brother. The second and third defendants got it through the brother. The order that commends itself to me is that each party bears their own cost. Why should an order comment to you? Why not you saying that I think that this is a family matter?
I think in those many words, Commissioner, that's all I was saying, that it's a matter between a brother and sister, and even that other side, those two others who are in the matter are on side of one of the siblings.
Okay, thank you very much. I wish you the best.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning once again.
Good morning, Commissioner.
I also have a few questions for you. What is your approach to deciding cases?
Sorry?
What is your approach to deciding cases?
In
terms of philosophy?
Sorry.
Yes, and do you think it's improper to have a judicial philosophy?
I think it's proper. It's proper to have a judicial philosophy. And my philosophy is, I tend toward the sociological school, and I am pragmatic in the decisions that I make. Although I think in our jurisdiction, our philosophy, the way we decide cases and the way we interpret whether it's the Constitution
I'm
or
asking
the law.
about you as a person before going to the...
Mine is, I try as much as me to look at the law as serving the people and using it for that purpose. So I'm more of a pragmatic jurist.
Okay, and do you think it is necessary for people to have their philosophies known as a judge or a judicial officer?
I think it is.
Why is that?
I think because we make decisions that affect either lives, livelihoods, or people's property, and therefore it's important. It's important for one to have a way of handling things so that it is known. You know, there's no deviation. One day you're doing this, the other one you're doing that. There's a bit of predictability in the way you do things. I think that's key.
And based on the decision you have shared, can we say you are predictable?
I would say so.
Okay. Among the decisions you have shared is one on the one Judge Ibrahim mentioned, the land matter between a brother and a sister. That's sample writing number 4, Joyce Wambeti Kiura versus Peter Mugo and 2 others. If you allow me to just summarize, the fact is, the allegation is that the sister bought land from person B and had the land registered in her brother's name, but she retained the title deed. The brother later disposed of the land without her consent or information. The initial purchaser, the initial seller, appeared in court on behalf of the sister and gave evidence to confirm that indeed it is the sister who gave money to him and he sold the land to the sister. However, in your decision, you took note that
the land is registered in the brother's name, so the sister did not have any interest, including trust. What are your views on overriding interest to land?
My view is that even when one says they have trust, the trust should be, in their favor. They will have to bring evidence. It's a matter of fact. And in that case, apart from her saying so, all the other transactions around that property had sale agreements. And if there was land moving from the seller to the person who was registered, and one person is saying, I gave money, the other one is saying it was sold to me and I'm registered, that person, there will be a presumption that the person who is registered is the owner. The other one who is trying to dislodge that registration.
I just want you to explain the overriding interest, why we have overriding interest over land. And I know you have applied to be a High Court judge and not an ELC judge, but some of these issues you might find them in family law, especially on issues around matrimonial property. So the overriding interest to land, maybe highlight 2 or 3 of them. Is trust among an overriding interest?
Yes, I would think so. Commissioner, for now, they are disappearing.
They have disappeared. So kindly appraise yourself with resulting trust, and there is a Supreme Court decision to that effect. Otherwise, thank you very much. Sorry, you responded to the question by the Chief Justice about independence of the judiciary, challenges that hinder the full realization of independence of the judiciary, and your response was staffing. There is a general concern that maybe 20 years ago, 15 years ago, there were fewer Court of Appeal judges, there were fewer High Court judges, there were fewer magistrates, but the judges, the magistrates worked. Now we have the numbers, but the work is not being done. So what would you say with regards to efficiency, accountability, vis-a-vis independence of the judiciary?
Of course, independence comes with accountability. People have to be responsible. People have to show what it is that they are doing. And a lot has been done now towards, measuring what everyone is doing. And I think even if there is a feeling that people are not working as hard as they used to work then, I don't think that's factual. One of the things that has happened is many matters have come to our courts. Of course, we can do better. We can do better. And I'm sure with the systems we have now, especially now that work is being captured real time, people will be more accountable and more work will get done. And those who are not, working, it will be easier to see now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, CJ.
Thank you, Chair, and welcome once more, Honorable Ithuku. Now I'll ask you only 2 brief questions. Judiciary has been going through a transformative agenda or journey, including a stage. What catalyst or key drivers do you think would be useful to apply in this transformation journey?
I think especially on stance. One of the things, I would say the key things around stats that will make us move faster is the opening up of the approach of how one gets to court or even gets disputes resolved. Especially when we adopt alternative dispute resolution. when we move many matters to mediation and now to AJS. I think those two, the opening of the means and avenues of getting our disputes resolved will have a big impact in the transformation.
Is there any role that ICT can play to expedite the journey?
A big role, Commissioner. Like now, seated here, I've been appointed to a committee that is dealing with the Mahakama Popote. And Mahakama Popote is based on technology, where we are moving our cases to other courts. And once annexed fully, it will be a big change to the way we are doing our work, and service delivery will really improve, because Mahakama Popote is about access to justice, and those distances can be collapsed. The cost of moving to those courts, or having to move magistrates to where they are now stationed, to the stations where work is, that is a big thing, and technology will really help us.
Okay, fair enough. Now, how does the judiciary contribute to the national development goals of this country?
The judiciary has a mandate to be the one to resolve our disputes. And many investors in our country, or any country, will look at how efficient, how independent, impartial, how that judiciary works, so that I know once I invest in this country, and if for whatever reason there's a dispute, that dispute will be resolved expeditiously, without corruption, impartially, and things will move. As opposed to when people go to court and monies or projects get held up there. Some of them worth a lot of money because judiciary is not working properly. So a judiciary that works is a judiciary that moves our economy forward and contributes to prosperity. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon once again.
Afternoon, Commissioner.
Yes, I think most of the areas I wanted to cover with you have been covered by my colleagues. So the only thing I will do is to discuss with you your performance report. From Depop, I believe you must have been served with a copy.
I have.
Yes, we are covering the period from 1st July 2023 to 31st December 2023. Yes, I see the report says that out of the expected contribution of 17%, you have done 16%. To start off, I would want to ask, this is a report from Kerugoya, by the way. I know you recently went to Mombasa, so yes. We are dealing with the Kerugoya report.
Yes.
How many were you in Kerugoya?
By the time I was leaving, we were 5.
5?
Yes.
Now, what is your view about the distribution of work, comparing Kerugoya and other magistrates' court stations countrywide? Do you think you are well-resourced in terms of hands on deck, or do you feel you are not very well-resourced?
I would say we were.
For judicial officers, that is.
For judicial officers, I would say we were. We were well-resourced, because by the time I was leaving, we had reduced the remand period to about 3 weeks, so that if a matter is adjourned today, 2-3 weeks will give a date. So I would say Kerugoya, we were well-resourced.
Okay.
Yes.
So could you comment on the report? 16% out of the expected 17%? What was hampering your performance or making you lag behind?
That's 1 percentage point below everyone else. Because if you look at our statement, it's from July to December.
Yes.
For Kerugoya. The month of November to December, I was already in Mombasa. So there are matters in terms of hearings, in terms of, you know, when there are those weeks I would have been on duty and taking pleas. So those 2 months, I'm not in Kerugoya. If one could just go back June and back, those percentages would be different. But also, maybe one can also say there is also the issue of administration. But Commissioner, I will not say that, because my previous reports showed that I was actually above
the rest.
Yes, above the rest.
Okay, that explains it. But now you are in Mombasa. Yes. How are you managing, balancing your administrative duties vis-a-vis the actual judicial work, the core function? Remembering that Mombasa is also a very heavy station. How are you managing that?
What happened when I went to Mombasa is that I found that they have divisions. There is civil division, there is criminal division. I inherited the docket that was held by my predecessor in the criminal division. We held a meeting with my colleagues in the criminal division, and we agreed that I cannot be taking plea every other time, all the time. So we have a duty roster. So they take a bit of the load off me. And there is also the issue of being the chief magistrate, and I think the one that follows me is SRM. I get to hear the ESCC matters. So we also
your immediate follower is at SRM?
No, in the criminal division.
Yes.
There are other ranks in the other divisions. We agreed that we can also organize our work in such a way that, because there are matters that will come to me because of jurisdiction, like the ESCC matters, those come to me, those others go to them. But we've organized it in a way that I will not get overloaded. People will not have their matters delayed because of my administrative duties, but they also pick some weight off me, considering that.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, and I wish you well.
Thank you.
This one is not on yet. Fine. Article 73 talks about the responsibilities of leadership. Can you tell me what they are? Article 73 of the Constitution. If you can't recall that, you can go to...
Sorry, I can't recall right away.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, what are the guiding principles of leadership and integrity? That's fairly general, and it's also in Chapter 6. You are a leader in your station, isn't it? You
yes.
said you are in...
yes.
You are the head of station?
Yes.
In Mombasa?
Yes.
Yes. But you know the guiding principles of leadership and integrity under the Constitution.
Commissioner, I know them.
But they disappear because you are appearing before
these
eminent commissioners.
I don't want to say that, but yeah.
Okay, fine. Then let's look at, you know generally about leadership, and there are leaders who are transformational and others who are probably not.
Yes.
What would you consider yourself as?
Commissioner, I consider myself transformational. In that, in the places I have served,
yes,
I have transformed the way of doing things. And judiciary, it's about service delivery. So I've been able to influence the judiciary staff and my colleagues towards a service delivery that addresses the needs of the people. So I consider myself a transformational leader.
Okay. In your career, what can you describe as your key achievements as a leader? You just told us a few minutes ago that you got inspired to join the judiciary to do a few things differently.
Yes.
What are those things you've done that are different from probably what was going on, which you can pride yourself in?
Thank you, Commissioner. My first station that I headed was Maralal in Samburu. And I can say one of the things I take pride in about my leadership is in Maralal is that when I went there, they had a mobile court in Baragoi and another one in Wamba. But they would go there a month, they would go there for 6 months. We were able to put structures so that it became predictable. And I would say that is something I've done in all stations where I've headed, where I put structures that are predictable, that are accountable, and anyone coming after me will be able to work around them. I also mentor officers who work under me, and I'm proud to say that there are 3 officers, magistrates who have worked under me, and after that they have become heads of station who have won awards. And I look at them and say, it started with us, and I think they are doing very well.
Thank you. Just refresh your mind on those other questions. Eh?
I will, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable CJ. Honorable Ithuku, maybe you could tell us of a time when your integrity was put to test, and perhaps how you went about it, any lessons that you drew from the incident, if any.
Thank you, Commissioner. What happens mainly in the work we do is that corruption thrives where systems are opaque. And if I can say as an example, and this is something that can happen and happens, is that there was a time, you have a matter that is before you, there's an application, and sometimes an advocate will want maybe to have something clarified, or to say, when I'm in chambers, maybe I'm told by the office administrator, they so and so who wants to see you. And I know maybe we just had a matter with that advocate. And you see, integrity is also about perception. And what I said in that case is, get the advocates on the other side, because we just come from court. Come in with the advocate, discuss what it is, mention what is it that you wanted to mention to the court in his presence. He gets to hear and maybe he gets to respond. And it's about openness, because when I said that, they came and you realize there's nothing that big that would not have waited maybe the ruling, and you get that impression, because sometimes it may be that there was even nothing to tell me. All that was needed was the impression that he has accessed my office and got out. That would have created that something has happened. But if they just get in together, that story cannot fly. And I would say that's how I handled it. And that's something you just get to learn, that so long as there's openness, people are transparent in the way you are doing these things, some of these things will not be there.
Okay.
Thank you.
If you're successful to become a judge, there's a certain way you're expected to conduct yourself. Maybe you could tell us any restrictions on activities of state officers?
Yes, if I am appointed, because some of the restrictions still apply to me as a judicial officer, is that I cannot be a judge, and I'm openly involved in politics, in activities that clearly show that I belong to one side and not the other. So my activities have to be restricted. Even my private life, I will have to handle my private life in a way that does not bring disrepute to the office, or make people feel that I could be partial or working with one side and not the other.
So you've given us one restriction on political parties and your involvement. Any other? Maybe two? Just two more?
Also active involvement in just businesses, you know, trading in a way that is open and could easily bring conflict when matters come to us.
Okay. Maybe you will refresh on that. My final question, I know you've been head of station for quite some time, and you've worked with the millennials or the young people.
Yes.
Maybe tell us what is the place of millennials in the institution and how you would go about dealing with them to ensure that their performance is at optimal levels.
One of the things I've done, because I have them, is to understand them and to understand that their worldview is different from ours or the people who have gone before us. And millennials, most of them are tech savvy. They grasp some of these things very fast. And we can put them in that space where those services are required. We can configure our operations in a way that responds to their talents and their skills. Then as an institution, we can really benefit. There are some structures that we've maybe have worked before and are not working for them. So I would say that is we understand them and we structure the organization in a way that, you know, allows them to work, especially when you're talking about adopting technology, being more flexible in the way we work, because you know, previously it has to be this, if not this, there's a letter. But you realize that if you're flexible, maybe the production will still be what you wanted, maybe not in the hours you wanted. That's what I would say.
All right. Thank you very much, and I wish you the best.
Thank you.
Yes. Just to conclude on that, how have you used millennials in your court?
Mombasa law courts.
Yes, how have you used it?
This is what we've done.
Yeah.
In our court, and I think in many courts, we are having a problem with typing of proceedings. And one of the things that we keep complaining about is lack of typists, people who are designated as typists. Most of these millennials who are coming, they can type faster than most of them. So we have agreed with them that you don't have to be designated a typist. Get this file, type it for us, we have it then proofread. And that has turned around our waiting time in terms of, you know, taking files to the High Court. That's what we've done.
Well done. This brings us to the end of the interview. Thank you for availing yourself. We will get in touch with you when we complete the process. But before we release you, we always give an opportunity to our candidate to ask us a question, if you have any.
Thank you very much, Your Lordship. I don't have a question, but I want to express my gratitude for being invited. Just coming here and having this conversation is enriching and gets, I'm sure, me to know what is in the judiciary working. It could also be a feedback mechanism for the Commission to know what we are doing. And I am grateful and hopeful that I'll be able to satisfy the Commission. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All the best, and keep up the good work that you're doing to serve the people and find out what is good for the people. Have a nice afternoon.